gain power. Stabilize, bring capitalism into the monstrous utopia. That's what they want, that's what they want. Abolish capitalism. These are the four rules of the woke. Better actions, words ain't bold. From pushing and claiming Marxist dreams in the dance of power, scheme and scheme. In every move, the agenda gleams. Remember, nothing's ever as it seems. It's true as
Hello, fellow Gnostic sex cultists. Welcome to a fun-filled Thursday afternoon. Where the hell did the week go? How is it Thursday already? What has happened? So much has happened in the last week. So much has happened in the last 24 hours. Who saw the stream last night? Can we just have a minute about me, because it is my show after all. Like and by the way, welcome to my show. This is The Cult. Did anyone watch this? Like, I am still, honest to God, I am still reeling from this stream last night. I'm reeling from the conversation I had last night. I'm reeling from the stream I had last night. I was thinking about it all night. It is a pretty epic mind F to be confronted with the fact that a group of people literally, like, for people who didn't see the stream last night, the too long didn't read is, last night I had a conversation with someone that was involved with the group of people that was harassing me for like they were gang stalk. They were gangs. They still are gang stalking me today, except they're much less effective today than they were years ago. But like, the basic gist is, there's this group of like 4 core people who were gang stalking me, driven by one person in particular who I told no to something he felt entitled to. And he then decided to start this operation involving multiple Telegram groups that were monitoring everything I was saying and doing. They tried to steal my ideas and implement them on their own. They were going into the inboxes of anyone I might be talking to, trying to turn them against me. They turned James Lindsay against me. They turned so many. They are. If you ever hear me called a narcissist or told that like I have a personality disorder online, that's all from this core group of people. And I said this for years. Like, anyone that ever gave me a hard time online, anyone that ever called me a narcissist or any of these things, they were always 100% universally connected to this core group of people. And then last night, I have a conversation with someone who was working with them because it was weighing on, like, I've actually talked to people through, there've actually been 3 people who have come forward to me from this group over the years to kind of share information with me and like basically to apologize. But like, last night was the most in-depth conversation I'd ever had about it. And I was literally told that the stated goal of this group was to get me to unalive myself. Like, that was the stated goal. They were not going to stop unless I unalived myself. Can we like that? I've been reeling from that. I even had a quick conversation with Joshua about that earlier. And Joshua's position on it, he was like, Carlin, can you imagine how powerful you are if this many people are coordinating to get you to unalive yourself? And I was like, well, I guess that's one way to look at it. I mean, the other way to look at it is I was gang stalked horribly and aggressively for years, and they destroyed my reputation, and they poisoned the well for all these relationships that could have been built. They poisoned the well for the content that I'm doing that's better than anyone on the internet in terms of covering the far left, in terms of like actually teaching people what's going on. And their stated goal was to get me to unalive myself. That's a mind F, man. I gotta tell you, so I've kind of been reeling from that, to be honest. And You know, one of the things they say when you one of the things they tell you when things get really hard is like, if you're taking flack, you must be over the target. But I gotta tell you, when you're the one taking the flack, when you're the one being told that you have literally a mob of people, like, and then now this is all confirmed. Like the person I talked to was in their Telegram groups. He was in their meetings. He heard them having they had entire coordinated weekly meetings that were just about plotting against me and everything I was doing and how do we fuck with her and how do we harass her and how do we smear her and how do we defame her and how do we deplatform her. They had entire weekly meetings about this for years. And I don't know what I can even do about it. Like, is gang stalking even illegal? Like, is it even something that I can take legal? I mean, I've filed harassment charges against these people before. Well, I mean, they didn't succeed though. Obviously, like, I'm still here, but they almost did is the thing. And I was crying on the phone earlier when I said to Joshua, I was like, and this is the God's honest truth. There were so many times. Oh God, I'm about to get emotional again. There were so many times that listen, man, I'm gonna give Joshua like a lot of credit. Joshua has stuck and yes, I'm paying Joshua for a service. Joshua is my life coach in real life, and it's his job to run my life and all that stuff. But I gotta tell you, Joshua stuck with me through some really bad times in my life. Joshua has seen me at my lowest point. Joshua got doxxed multiple times by this group because he wouldn't quit working with me. That's the truth. They tried to get him to quit working with me, and when he didn't, they doxed him to try to punish me. And I said to Joshua earlier today, I was like, there is a very real chance that I wouldn't be alive if you hadn't been there, like, supporting me through all of this, even though there were times when I was an absolute dick to Joshua because I was in such a bad place. There were times when I treated him horribly, not because I was targeting him, but because I had and I know, like, I mean, he's not the only one. Obviously, my husband has been here the entire time. Obviously, my community members have been here the entire time, and you guys are all great too. But like, Joshua really got Joshua saw a lot of my really dark places during that time. Because it was his job to help me. That's what his job was. And you know, I will never even though like I yeah, I pay him for a service, yeah, fine, but like I didn't expect oh my god, I did not expect to get this emotional. Oh my god. It is a very real thing that he may have saved my life. Oh god. You know, I did this show with Dan Smotz earlier, and he was basically saying, Carlin, everyone thinks you're a horrible narcissist. And I was like, well, let me explain why that is. And I just, I wish more people would stop assuming that anonymous accounts on the internet are telling the truth. And I wish more people would stop assuming the worst about people because I feel like throughout all the time that I had to endure all of this, there was always more than enough evidence that I wasn't the things that they said I was. Because all the time during the whole time that I had to endure all of this, they always could have come to my streams and seen what I was talking about. They always could have reached out to me directly to talk to me. Like any of these people who have spread horrible lies about me because they were told horrible lies about me, they always could have gone directly to the source to see for themselves if those lies were true. And I think like so many, yeah, well, I have to say this, like when I started, hanging around Nick, the Groypers are probably the only group online that didn't put me through this, which is ironic because everyone thinks that they would be the type of people that would put me through this. Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of the very real reasons that I did, like, once I saw what had happened to Nick, I was like, I understand that happened to me too. This is what that whole website that I started, nickandi.substack.com, which I have like 15 articles for that I want to write that's already written in my head and I just haven't updated it in a long time. But like the whole point of that website that I started just documenting this stuff was to tell the parallel stories of like, this is what happened to Nick Fuentes and this was what happened to me too, and this is what happens on the internet. But this is why, because it happened to me, I could see that it happened to him. And the Groypers never put me through this. The Groypers never, like, some of them, like, I mean, obviously they've heard the rumors and they've seen the smear campaigns and stuff like that, but they never did what the other groups did. And I think the reason they didn't do what the other groups did is because the Groypers know what this is like. Because not just Nick, the Groypers are also attacked as well. They're attacked all the time for and like mischaracterized all the time. It is astonishing to me the lengths that people will go to online. Things they would never do in real life, things they would never say in real life. Everyone has that one friend who gets us through the rough stuff, and we have those moments, we get frustrated with each other, yet we stick through it through thick and thin. It's love and respect. Yeah. I'm very lucky. I have a lot of friends. I mean, I have a lot of people who support me. I have like just the best community in the world. And I'm happy that the Groypers are now kind of like that we're all getting along because I really do I like them a lot. I mean, like you're not going to like everyone. There's always going to be people in a large group that you don't get along. But even Wurzelroot. Did you guys see the Wurzelroot Riz yesterday where Wurzelroot was asking to see my boobs? I was like, yo. We've even turned a corner with that. And so even though this group of gang stalking individuals still does exist, even though they're all still obsessed with me, even though they still post about me all the time, I feel like I'm in such a much better position now than I was back then. And I'm really appreciative of that. And so we are going to be getting into like leftist content today. We've actually got I've got 3 streams I'm going to do today, guys. We are in stream number 1. In stream number 1, we are going to be watching dun da 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 da. We are going to be watching a trans activism panel. Hang on, I need to put my glasses back on because I'm blind and I cannot see unless I have glasses. Well, sometimes I can, but things have to be bigger than they are right now. We are watching a trans activism panel that was filmed on November 16th, 2023, but it was only uploaded to YouTube less than a month ago. It only has 16 views, and sometimes people say, well, Carlin, this has no views, and this channel has no subscribers, and so why are we even watching this? Because these are the presentations where we get the best golden nuggets. These are the presentations that no one else has seen, no one else on the internet has talked about, no one else on the internet has shown you, and these are always universally the small little presentations on the small little YouTube channels. These are the ones where they say the quiet part out loud. And don't be fooled, guys, because just because it doesn't have a lot of views on YouTube, that doesn't mean it's not impactful, because this particular training is from the Center for LGBTQ Studies, and the Center for LGBTQ Studies provides a platform for the intellectual leadership in addressing issues affecting lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender individuals and other sexual and gender minorities, as the first university-based LGBTQ research center in the United States. So this is in-house in the university system. Exactly. These are the buried treasures. That's what we unearth on this channel. We find the buried treasures. This is within a university system. CLAGS nurtures cutting-edge scholarship, organizes colloquia for examining and affirming LGBTQ lives, blah, 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 blah. CLAGS makes its home at the Graduate Center of the City University of New York. This is a taxpayer-funded university system in New York that is putting on, I mean, they put on stuff all the time. There's a ton of videos on this site. This is always one of my go-to sites when I'm just like looking for stuff because they have a ton of training videos on there. We've watched some of their training videos before. Like there are any number that we could choose. Oh, look, Queers in Comics. 7 years ago, Queers in Comics. So they had a whole Queers in Comics series. Maybe someday we should just do a whole like real historical week where we go back and watch content that's like 10 years old plus, something like that. We should do that sometimes. Anyway, the video we're going to be watching today is just called Trans Activism Conversation, and that's really all it's called, and I don't really have any other context for it, so we're going to watch that. But that is not the only stream we're doing today because, guys, this almost never happens. Usually, when I do a spy stream, it is a supporter exclusive. But today, I am making an exception. We are doing a rare public spy stream. Spy stream is when we go inside a live training as it's happening. And as it happens, someone earlier today sent me a private link to a leftist activist training Zoom call that's going to be starting around 7:30 Eastern time tonight. And it's one of those things where like I don't necessarily know that this is going to be the most exciting spy stream of all time. I don't know that, but what I will say is that because I don't know that it's going to be the most exciting spy stream that's ever happened, I don't mind if I get kicked out of it. I don't mind if they find out I'm streaming it publicly and they kick us out, which by the way, obviously, like I'm not going in under my real name. There's really no way they could find out about it. But if they did, it wouldn't be like the worst emergency in the world that's like ever happened. And so what I'm going to be doing at 7:30 tonight, or I'm going to stop the last stream and we're going to go live around 7:15 for this one, is I'm going to be taking you inside a live training so that you can see exactly what the left talks about when they think people like us are not listening. And that is going to be an exclusive on my channel, and that should get started around 7:30 tonight. I will probably try to start the stream a little bit earlier than that just to give us a little bit of wiggle room. I have to explain the spy stream rules and all that good stuff, but I almost never do spy streams publicly anymore because when I do public stuff, people get all pissed off about it and they try to get me in trouble and they report me and like all this stuff. So I very rarely do this, but like every once in a while there's a spy stream where I'm kind of like, would this be the worst thing in the world to do it publicly? Yeah, I probably can get away with it. I thought we were doing the debate. We are doing the debate because the debate doesn't start until 9 o'clock. So the deal with the debate is that there's rumors that YouTube is going to shut down any streaming of the debate, and I'm going to be getting started with the debate probably around like right after spy stream. Spy stream's supposed to end by 8:30, okay? So the debate doesn't start till 9 o'clock. And so I do have time in between when spy stream should end and the debate begins. Now, here's the deal. There are all these rumors that YouTube is going to shut down any streaming of the debate because they're saying CNN's going to shut down any streaming of the debate. But the thing is, they say that every single time. I have heard that for like the last 3 political things that I've streamed. Every time. So it's like, Carlin, do you feel comfortable streaming this? YouTube's going to shut it down. Do you feel comfortable streaming this? YouTube's going to shut it down. And I'm like, well, let's just try and see. Let's see what happens. And then I stream it and nothing happens. Tim Pool seems to think they won't shut down live streams, but will delete any saved videos of it. I mean, I guess we'll see. Maybe I could do it, but I will be streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. Okay. So it's actually really important. If you're not subscribed to my Rumble channel, actually, let's just do this right now. It's rumble.com/Carlin. Let me just make sure that that's actually the, yeah. Okay. Let me put the link in the chat, rumble.com/Carlin. Quite frankly, everyone should be subscribed to my Rumble channel anyway, and I'm streaming on Rumble right now. I always do a backup stream on Rumble. I'm also streaming on Twitter, so if you're following me on Twitter or X, whatever, make sure you're following me there. I will do backup streams on all of them. And so like we'll just see what happens. Let's have fun with it. I might even just meta stream Nick Fuentes's stream of the debate just to like see what his reaction is too. Jennifer is going to be joining me. I'm going to tell my husband to go to the store and get some peanut butter whiskey just for fun. I'm sure my husband won't drink any of the peanut butter whiskey. And so if it gets shut down on YouTube, we can migrate. Like, we're going to be live on Rumble, so just migrate over there. And I'm not worried about getting a strike or anything. I don't have any strikes on my channel or anything right now. So if it happens, it happens. But I think a lot of people are going to be trying to stream the debate. I have a hard time believing that that they're going to be able to shut down everything, or that they would shut down everything. I think this will probably be challenged in terms of fair use and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, CNN should not control all the rights to a public interest debate. This is all in the public interest. I'm a fucking independent journalist. People should be able, like, independent journalists should be able to cover like stuff like this without CNN saying, no, you can't cover the debate. In fact, if CNN wants to say that no one can talk about the debate, they shouldn't have been given the debate in the first place. Anyway, so we're going to be doing those streams today, guys. It is going to be a fun-filled day, but I do want to remind everyone, if you would like to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business, please do head over to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. You can also, of course, send in super chats to my show. Super chats do help to support the stream and stuff like that. And there's going to be some stuff going up on the Substack, and I thought I was going to be able to get it up last night, but unfortunately I had this phone call and then I had the stream, so I just didn't do it. I'm going to be doing an epic write-up on the fact that James Lindsay called for my cancellation. James Lindsay is calling for the censorship of my content. James Lindsay literally got the Babylon Bee, or not the Bee, to censor my content. It's just like, it's shocking to me what happened yesterday. It is shocking, but honestly not quite so shocking. So I'm going to be doing a whole write-up about how James Lindsay is actively struggle sessioning anyone. James Lindsay is actively struggle sessioning people for acknowledging that my content exists. Can you imagine? And he thinks this isn't woke? So there's going to be a write-up about that. We've got the entire thing documented. It's not even in question what happened. I mean, it is shocking. If you missed the stream yesterday, go watch the stream yesterday. That will explain it. So that's going to be going up. I'm going to be doing a lot of clips around the Abolish the Family stream that we did this past weekend. That's going to be going up. There's going to be some other stuff too. I apologize. Again, it's like one of those weeks that just got away from me. Because a lot of stuff has happened, and even more stuff has happened than you guys know about, because there's some other behind the scenes stuff that's happened too that I might share on a Zoom call at some point, but I'm not going to share publicly at this point. But like, the things that I've heard in the last 24 hours are truly, truly shocking. And we'll talk about, and if you want to get access to the supporter Zoom call, head over to the Substack, $8 a month, $80 a year. That's how you get access to my supporter Zoom calls. Anyway, guys, let's jump into it and let's just dig in. I need everyone to mount the like button for me. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. Let's just jump into this trans activism conversation. And again, as a reminder, the reason that we watch leftist training is to learn how the left thinks, to learn what the left is planning, to learn how the left uses language, to learn what themes are coming. The fact that we watch leftist training is what keeps us ahead of every other influencer, of every other commentator, of every other pundit. People in my community know what's coming a good year to 2 years before anyone on Twitter. We are so far ahead of everyone else, it's not even funny. And the reason is we watch real-time leftist training, so we know what the left is doing before anyone else does. Okay, so that's why we do this. If you have questions about what's in the training, please make sure you chat them in. We're happy to take questions, talk through any of it. I will be identifying themes. I'm sure you guys will be identifying themes in the chat. Let's get this party started, and let's see what a taxpayer-funded trans activism conversation looks like out of the City University of New York.
And welcome everybody, and welcome to CLAG's event on this Thursday evening. We're going to chat about trans activism.
Is it crackling for you guys? Let me know if it's crackling.
But before we start to talk about our topic for today, I would like to introduce our CLAG's board co-chair, Laura Westengard. Laura Westengard is an associate professor of English at New York City College of Technology, City University of New York, and CLAG's board co-chair. Laura is also an author of Gothic Queer Culture, Marginalized Communities, and the Ghosts of Insidious Drama. And will share some information about CLAGs with all of us. This event is recorded and it is live streamed. So since this is a meeting, people can turn on their cameras if they want. But please note that if your camera is on, you become visible to everybody. So I will invite people to turn on their cameras toward the end when we're having Q&A and having conversations. So Laura, I'm going to hand you the mic.
Thank you so much, Yasmina, and thanks to all of you for joining us today at CLAGS. I am Laura Westengard. My pronouns are she or they.
She, they,
and
non-binary.
I am the board co-chair of CLAGS. And I just want to tell you a little bit about CLAGS and ask for your help so that we can continue to.
I just want to say that when I had this haircut, I just thought this haircut looked cool. And I really liked having a shaved head. Having a shaved head during the summer is great. Like, I mean, honestly, anyone who's ever had a shaved head knows how just it's fucking easy. And it just feels so nice in the summer. And it's so much cooler than having like a head full of hair. And I have a head full of hair now because I grew it all out. But like it was just so nice. And so I just want to say, I understand why people judged me for having this haircut, but like you shouldn't judge everyone for having this haircut because I thought it looked cool and it was so much easier. But I understand why people judged me.
Offer this kind of conversation and free and public programming in the future. So CLAGS is the first university-based LGBTQIA.
Hang on, this is a great question. I'm so glad you asked this, Mary, for newbies. Why does she use she and they? That's a great question. So pop quiz for the chat. Why would someone use she, they pronouns? What does that mean when we see she, they, or he, they, or they, she, or they, he? What does that mean when you see that? I'll let the chat answer because that's my Socratic method of how I teach people. Why would someone use she, they pronouns? Pop quiz for the chat. Because the goal of queer Marxism is to abolish the gender binary. The gender binary means men and women. Another word for the gender binary is the patriarchy. They believe capitalism, defined as private property ownership, created the gender binary that put men in the workplace where they had all the money and all the power, women in the home doing the unpaid labor, raising the next generation of proletarian workers in the nuclear family, which then reproduces capitalism via social reproduction theory. If you don't understand anything that I just said, just ask me and I'll explain it slower. But what Bot is saying, the goal of queer theory is to abolish the gender binary because the gender binary is abolishing the gender binary is an attack on capitalism. It's also an attack on the nuclear family. And anyone who is using she, they pronouns, he, they pronouns, they, them pronouns of any variety, they are saying that they do not uphold the gender binary. It is an indication that they support queer Marxism, that they support the abolition of the gender binary. The gender binary is something that we must protect at all costs if we don't want them to win. Solidarity with queer, yeah, that's also another indication of it. But the specific solidarity in this case is that they do not want the gender binary to exist. That's why they're defaulting to they, because they is the ultimate like indication that they do not want the gender binary to exist. They're queering their gender. She wants to abolish the gender binary because non-binary is the ultimate gender equity. So they seek a society of they, thems in the Marxist utopia. That's right. In their Marxist utopia, there won't be no gender. The only way to have no gender, the only way to achieve gender equity is to get rid of gender at all, to eliminate the hierarchy of gender. Does everyone understand that? They believe gender equity will be achieved when they eliminate the hierarchy of gender, which means no gender at all. They are signaling they're part of the collective. The ultimate being part of the collective is being a they, them that blends in with anyone. They are socialists. They reject the oppression of binary sexes. They show they're part of the collective. Solidarity with non-binary. She is not holding a gender. They're showing they're a comrade. That's okay, audio freak. We do this all the time. That's okay. That's okay. You'll get it. So why don't they want gender to exist? Because gender inherently, so they believe that capitalism created gender. Capitalism, again, defined as private property ownership. Private property means your ability to own a home, car, business. Parental rights are a form of private property, individual liberties. Now, You're going to say it's ridiculous that capitalism created gender. I need you to resist doing that for a second. I just need you to understand what they believe right now. We don't debunk them. We just understand what they believe. They believe that capitalism created gender. Gender created a hierarchy in which men were put above women, and they don't like hierarchies. And equity is about elimination of the hierarchy. So they think if they eliminate gender, they will eliminate the hierarchy. Does that make sense? Excellent job, guys. Well done. Let's keep going.
Plus research center in the United States. And as such, we nurture interdisciplinary, cutting edge knowledge production in queer and trans studies. At CLAGS, we strive for an intersectional definition of queer and commit to merging issues of sexuality and gender with race, indigeneity, class, disability, nationality, colonialism, environmental justice, and globalization. CLAGS is dedicated to maintaining
all of those issues that she just discussed are problems that they believe capitalism created. So capitalism is going to be at the root of every single one of those problems, from race, gender, environmental justice, social justice, globalization, everything. You will not colonization, exactly. You will not understand the left until you understand the root thing that they want to get rid of. In literally every single one of these cases is capitalism. Let's just listen to that list again.
And commit to merging issues of sexuality and gender with race, indigeneity, class, disability, nationality, colonialism, environmental justice, and globalization. CLAGS is dedicated to maintaining accessible public programming, fellowships, and initiatives that join academics, artists, activists, policymakers, and community members in dialogue and conversation. We are committed to radical visions of a queer past, present, and future within and beyond.
Thank you, Naruto. Here's my salutations for missing the stream last night due to being asleep. You know, when I go live at midnight, sometimes people are going to be asleep, so I'm glad you got to get caught up. But yeah, everyone, apparently we learned last night, again, or should we say we were reminded, that everyone in my cult owes me, what is it, like supplications? We're going to call super chats supplications from now on, and you all need to grovel at my feet and to send your supplications in the form of super chats. If you want to, you don't like, and if you can't afford to, that's fine. But like, if you want to do a supplication to show that you're a full-fledged member of the cult, I'm just saying that people expect that. So this stripe of Marxism is no. They are in favor of globalization. They want globalization. They're not against it. I mean, but I understand, Mary, that the way she said that might make you think that they're against it. But no, they believe that every country needs to become socialist in order for socialism to work. What? Dead Domain CPAC video has some of you rushing to be relevant. I don't even know what this means, bro. I don't even know who that is. Nope, this is wrong, incorrect. Nope, wrong. And I've told you this is wrong before. This has nothing to do with narcissism. Some of these people are second and third generation Marxists, bro. Like this is indoctrination from the public schools. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. Anyone who is continuing to perpetuate the lie that these people are all just narcissistic personality disorder is a retard. These are people who have been indoctrinated in the public school system since they were 5 years old. These are people, many of whom had parents who were Marxists, many of whom had grandparents who were Marxists. Marxists literally have entire childcare programs where they raise their kids to have these values. Just because someone, nope, wrong, bro. I don't even know why you bother to show up if you're not going to listen. These people have different values than you do. Not everyone who has different values than you do is a narcissist. In fact, it's quite narcissistic to assume that your values are the only non-narcissistic values in the world. So if you want to keep coming back to my streams and learning nothing, fine, but I don't know why you're wasting your time. Just go watch the Daily Wire or something that's going to agree with your confirmation bias. But the fact is that anyone who keeps saying that this is all mental illness, you're chewing up and swallowing right-wing talking points that are unhinged from reality. Renan, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I really do appreciate it.
CUNY and on the national and global level. But we can't do it without you. Your support of CLAGS is critical to establishing a legacy dedicated to the study of LGBTQ+ historical, cultural, and political issues. So please consider making a donation to CLAGS, and your gift will afford our community and scholars the opportunity of one-of-a-kind experiences that celebrate scholarship, art, and activism from the voices of—
Can I just tell you guys, side note, 2 hours ago, I made a post on Twitter that just said, "Grapers, I want to see your best pictures of Hitler in the replies. Go." And that post already has 32,000 views, and people are calling me a Fed. People are so pissed off just because I asked for historical pictures of Hitler. I like looking at historical pictures. People are so wound up over nothing. Audio freak. Carlin, is it possible that some non-binary people are non-binary because through their life they had no control and found control in— No. Nope, that's a conservative talking point that is not based in reality at all. This is the— if someone is identifying as non-binary, it's because they've been indoctrinated to be queer, which is a far left political ideology. They probably don't know that they were indoctrinated into a cult, but no, this is not what non-binary is. Like, do not, like, you guys have got to stop listening to people who are lying to you. You've got to stop listening to people who are telling you this is all a mental illness, because it's not. That's not to say there aren't some mentally ill people in it. Of course there are. There are mentally ill people in everything. But to say that this is entirely about mental illness is just incorrect. This is not a control issue. What you're talking about is narcissism. Because again, this is a narcissism thing. Narcissism is about control. And so this is not about narcissism. This is about— they have different values than you. They want to abolish the gender binary because they believe it will create more equity in the world. That's what this is about. My opinion on trans people is that I don't care if people are trans. Like, it makes no difference.
the LGBTQ+ community. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and whether your gift is $10 or $100, it has a significant impact on the lives of students and our community now and in the future. So again, welcome, and I invite you to contribute and to drop your questions in the chat too, in case we have the opportunity to answer those for you. And thanks again. I will turn it over back to Yasmina.
Thank you. I am here managing also the spotlight for all of us.
Look,
so
even the sign language interpreter has they them pronouns.
I do want to acknowledge that at least those of us who are in New York right now and are on the unceded land of Lenape Hoking, and
pop quiz for the chat. Why do they do land blessings? What is the point of a land blessing? Why do they enact this bizarre practice? Pop quiz. Bro, I'm going to need you to stop talking and start listening, because you're basically talking to yourself in my chat. And what I need you to do if you're going to be here is to start listening. There's no shit posting in my chat. We're here to learn. We are not here to talk to ourselves, all right? This is— you got to consider you're in a class right now, bro. I'm the teacher of the class. You're the student in the class. If you don't like this relationship, go somewhere else. Why are we doing a land blessing? What does a land blessing— what purpose does a land blessing serve? Because they're colonizers. Colonizers mean privatizing the land under the oppressive force of capitalism, taking it away from the indigenous people who were collectivizing the land, and then the evil bougie capitalists privatize it to use it for their own purposes. It means you're on stolen land, because they believe the land was stolen by capitalism through colonization, and they want to decolonize it because they want to decolonize the land. Decolonization decolonization means removing the oppressive force of capitalism. Contrary to what James Lindsay says, decolonization actually very rarely requires violent revolution. It does in some cases, but it's actually a very small percent of the time that it does require violent revolution. Decolonization is not just about land. They can also decolonize other things, like decolonize the school curriculum, which means insert anti-capitalist ideas into the school curriculum in order to make more leftists over time. Land acknowledgement is to acknowledge that they are the evil, oppressive colonizers on the land because they believe the land was taken from colonization. Capitalism stole the land from the indigenous to reclaim colonized land, to acknowledge that they are on stolen land that was colonized by capitalism. Colonizer consciousness equals whiteness equals capitalism. Decolonize equals abolish capitalism. Re-indigenize, become collectivist. I've already warned you once. If I have to warn you again, you're going to get banned. And I do own a home and own land, bro. And again, if you're going to keep shit posting in my chat, you're going to get banned. So you can decide what you want to do. I own a business as well, multiple businesses, in fact. This is your last warning. I see one more shit post from you, you're getting banned.
That I just want to invite us all to be mindful of that, whatever that means to all of us. It should not just end at us acknowledging, and perhaps this is a conversation we can all have later.
That retard that I just banned called me a communist, by the way, because that retard didn't stop to actually listen to what was going on and understand that we're critiquing this and learning about this. And this is why we ban conservative retards in my chat. They cause too many problems. They don't fucking listen. They're not here to learn anything. My channel is a place for people who want to learn. If you want to shitpost and talk about nonsense, go watch James Lindsay. He'll tell you all the things you want to hear and then take your money and smile at you as he's doing it.
And share what are the things that we can do. So I would like to invite my two conversants, two speakers, two friends, really. So I will be bringing them on. And there's Jennifer. Okay, here is the four of us. So Jennifer and Janice are dear friends and colleagues, and I would say co-conspirators in this universe of trying to survive. And
we can tell we have a James Lindsay fan in my audience because this is retarded, bro. Trans people are nobodies with delusions of grandeur that somehow work into their existence and become the embodiment of social recognition and clout, queer maxing, communist. So this is a retarded James Lindsay supporter who has no idea what the left actually believes, no idea what the left talks about in their spaces. He's bought into all of James Lindsay's bullshit. He doesn't understand that the goal of queer Marxism is to abolish the gender binary. He doesn't understand that trans people, when they transition from man to woman or woman to man, actually uphold the gender binary. The only people who want to abolish the gender binary are queer Marxists who use they, them pronouns and refuse to adhere to the gender binary. James Lindsay's audience doesn't understand any of this because James Lindsay has never taught them this, because James Lindsay doesn't know it themselves. And so James Lindsay's supporters run around the internet saying just absolutely retarded nonsense like this that doesn't make sense to anyone that is actually hinged into what the left is doing. So, bro, I'm going to invite you to take a seat. And if you want to actually learn what the left is saying, like in the real world, not the bullshit that James Lindsay tells you, because James Lindsay doesn't know about any of this stuff, take a seat. We'll walk you through it. And either you're going to learn or you're going to complain and you're going to whine, and you'll prove whether or not you're smart enough to be here very soon.
And I'm going to start by introducing Jennifer, and then I will introduce Janice, and then I will ask them to share about their work. So Jennifer Love Williams is a formerly incarcerated Black trans woman, an entertainer, and an activist. She's the foundress of the Gen Love Project, a nonprofit that provides home packages to recently released and soon to be released LGBTQ plus people coming home from prison, jail, and serves as a co-chair of the formerly incarcerated subgroup of the National LGBT HIV Criminal Justice Working Group. She works with the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. And if we can drop the link to Gen Love Project in a chat, that would be great. Janice has helped with planning of the 2021, 22, 23 queer liberation marches and is helping on planning the 24 queer liberation march, is on the board of Indigenous Peoples Day Philly and helps plan Philly Trans March events. Janice currently gives classes to homelessness orgs for trans inclusion. She's a guest lecturer at various universities for trans and two-spirit cultural trainings, and has given classes on two-spirit and transgender to the community and corporations classes. Janice was a co-chair of the Philadelphia Trans Wellness Conference for 5 conferences, worked 11 years with the planning committee. Janice is co-founder of East Coast Two-Spirit Society, co-founder of NCTE, and is an electric engineer with extensive project management experience. She has also spent significant time on workplace issues, transgender insurance coverage, workplace inclusion, racial equality, gender equality, and housing for low-income and homeless trans people. I myself am a non-binary person.
Non-binary.
I
Another
teach
one.
at City College of New York, and I'm CLAG's Director of Development and Finance. I'm originally from the Balkans, from Yugoslavia. Yeah, and I'm involved in so many things that I'm actually not going to mention right now. So welcome to Jennifer and Janice, and I'm going to start us off with Jennifer. Jennifer, tell us a little bit more about your work.
Hello, everyone. When it comes to my work is centered around abolition and getting everyone to a safe.
Hey, before we get into Jennifer here, who seems to be the only non-binary person on the panel, I just want to do a shout out to Mass Genocide. I just told a friend about Carlin's channel today. She was really excited. Guys, if there's one thing that should be clear to everyone after this week, it's that James Lindsay is actively trying to poison the well. Succeeding in poisoning the well, telling every conservative media outlet that has ever covered him or worked with him that they are not allowed to even mention my content, link to my content, cover anything that I'm doing. What that means is the only way that more people are going to know about my content, the only more people are going to see my content is through a grassroots movement. What I need is for everyone here that values what I do, that has learned from what I do, share my content. Tell people about my content. Get more people here. Share stuff from the Substack. Follow me on Twitter. Share clips that I do on Twitter. Every time I share something from this stuff, tell people what's going on. I can only grow and have more people looking at this with the help of every single person here. And James Lindsay is in a little bit of a pickle right now because James Lindsay is starting to piss a lot of people off. And so this is a better time than any. I swear to God, I know it might seem like we're up against insurmountable odds because we have the conservative machine working against getting this content out into the hands of real people. And that's very real. And that's a challenge that we have to deal with. But other people have had this challenge before. And I know that if we work together, we start spreading the word, we start inviting people to watch the streams, we start getting more people involved, I will show up and I will do the best fucking training about what the left is doing of any single person on the internet. I will do the best coverage, the best breakdowns, and all that. And if I show up and do that for you guys, what I need is for you to help me get my work in front of more people because I can't do that. Only you can do that. And that's how we grow this. And that's how we get more people to know what's going on. And that's how we share the knowledge of what is happening. All right?
A safe space, especially upon re-entering back into the so-called free world and exiting modern-day slavery. And how did I land in this field of work where myself?
Their sound, not my sound. It's her sound, not mine.
And I'm a person who happened to be caught up in a situation that left me with.
You're going to stop whining and start listening. We know where people come from just by your language, bro. Stop whining, start listening.
Of incarceration that I never knew existed. In that
Jennifer, sorry, we're having a little harder time.
Hearing me?
Yeah.
I apologize. Hold on 1 second. What about now?
Better.
Better.
Okay.
All
What about
right.
now?
So now you have continued to whine and complain in my chat. So, bro, either you're here to learn or you are not here to learn. I have 2 rules in my chat. Number 1, don't be a dick. Do not insult me. Do not insult anyone else in my audience. Number 2, no whining. I am not going to negotiate with you. If you are not smart enough to be here and don't want to share the content, then go somewhere else. But I will not tolerate any more whining in my chat when we're trying to learn. This is not about you. This is about what is going on the screen. Do you understand? Oh, and now he's whining again, and now he's going to get banned. Goodbye, Adam. You know, I do want to grow my audience, but I'm not going to grow retards. No retards allowed. No whiners allowed. Only people who are serious are allowed.
Better?
All right. Okay. I apologize. Do you want me to back up some or just continue where I was at?
I'm gonna ask if maybe people
That
who are
means
in the
back up
audience,
some, right?
maybe a little bit, and then people who are in the audience can also, like, if anybody else has difficulty, just, I guess, let us know.
Okay. Well, once again, I apologize about that. As a formerly incarcerated Black trans woman, I got exposed to the realities of the incarceral system and how unjust the so-called system is. And it made me realize that also I thought my job was done as a good human by performing for free and donating tips to certain causes that affect Black people, queer people, trans folk. I thought my job was done if I performed for free and donated my tips or donated my pay. Then I realized that no, I got a lot of life to live. And in that life that I'm living, I have to be present, not just be visible for myself, but be visible for
This is
others.
painful.
And
Just ride it out.
sometimes it's easy to cast aside what people say to you, but when you have a face to it and a physical body there with the lived experience, it's hard to deny those facts of a person's lived experience, which means I have to put myself on the forefront and bring along others so we can help others get the freedom that they deserve, get the respect that they deserve, and get the safety and healthcare that they deserve. In a better way to say it.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me? So Janice, would you share a little bit about
Yes.
your work?
Yes, I can do that. I can share a little bit. I will keep it succinct. All right. So I've been doing activist type work for almost 50 years now. Well, over 50 years now.
I'm going to say that's a trans woman.
From standing up to the Klan to trying to get health care for trans people to trying to make sure that we don't lose the rights that we've got today. Right. So it goes. It's not just activism; it's organizing and advocacy and lobbying work that I've done along the way in order to try to make sure that we can advance. And just so people are clear, things are much better today than they were 50 years ago. Right. 50 years ago, I thought I would get arrested for just being on the street for who I was. Today, we can be ourselves, and we're not getting arrested in most states for wearing clothes that don't match the sex that they assigned us at birth. Trying to make sure that stays that way because outlawing clothes just makes no sense to me. So Along the way, I've worked on something called Clan Watch, which is now
Clan Watch.
which was a branch of the Southern Poverty Law Center and is now called Hate Watch, which people often refer to when they're trying to track hate organizations. When HIV hit, we were trying to find housing for people who had HIV and trying to make sure that they got health care. And that had its own history to it. And then when it came around to trans activism, I've been open and visible for a long time now. And I think that's part of what it takes to be, to make change is that a lot of people need to know who we are. There have been studies saying that a lot of people have never met a trans person, but they have, they just don't know it, right? So I make sure they know it. I make sure hard that they know it, right? I worked with trying to get healthcare coverage for trans people. The first two shelters that actually homeless shelters that accepted trans people, I helped set them up. There was a battered women's shelter that I helped to make inclusive of trans people, helped to get inclusive of trans people. We still fight for healthcare issues. We've only been able to eliminate some of the barriers. We are not fully inclusive at this point, in my opinion. Activism, organizing, lobbying, that's all just been part of my life. It's just part of it. I've got my other life as an engineer. I currently work in fair housing, so I help people who are not trans, as well as people who are trans, to make sure that they're not being discriminated against in housing in Pennsylvania. So I've got a long history of activism. That's it. Back to you, JZ. Jasmina. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you. I think what I would like to do is have maybe open up with some questions, and then also if people have questions, feel free to drop them in chat. This is I envisioned this as sort of an open conversation where people ask respectful questions that shouldn't I probably don't even need to say that, right? Everybody here is in love and support. But if people have questions, please do drop them in the chat. Or just raise your hands and we'll call on you. And if you hear howling in my background,
that's
it's because my
bullshit,
cat
conservative
is
nonsense,
having a lot to
Rich. Come
say as
on.
well. So please ignore the beauties of doing this work from everywhere we are, right? So some of the questions, both of you mentioned the importance of things like housing and safety and just sort of like the basic needs and advocacy around that. And often when people talk about activism, there's a focus on some of the, I guess, what seems to be different questions, but we all have these needs. We all have the needs for housing. We all have needs for safety. Either one of you, if you want to jump in and share, like why were these things, like why housing specifically you think is one of the important things to focus on, and specifically in the trans context, but also if you want to open it up.
All right. You want me to go ahead, Jennifer?
Yeah, go for it.
It's up to you.
All right. Well, food, shelter, healthcare are fundamentals that trans people have often not always been guaranteed. We don't get the healthcare that we need when we ask for it or when we need it, and we don't get the shelter we need. So the housing comes into an issue. So when it comes to renting a place, landlords can be prejudiced, and if you transition after you've got an apartment, a lot of places you can lose your apartment for having done that. All right, so trying to make sure that trans people have housing. is important in that regard. Another issue becomes people who are young and their families throw them away, or they run away because they're being abused at home, or they don't have family that will take them in. Those people wind up being on the streets. They're homeless. They're kids. Trying to figure out how to make enough money to pay for rent becomes a huge issue if you're 15 years old. Trying to make sure that there's some place where those children can go, that they're not just freezing on the street, has always been a critical thing to me. And make sure that they can get the health care they need once they get into the housing and the food. But housing's important, because living on the street as a young trans person is incredibly dangerous for getting diseases. It's incredibly dangerous for getting killed. It's just for getting arrested and put in prison. So what you need to do, if you're not home, if you don't have a place to call home, becomes desperation in a lot of ways, and that becomes a problem in and of itself. Anything you want to add, Jennifer?
There's a lot of times when it comes to housing, a lot of the non-trans community or passing part of the trans community tends to overlook the factor that there are a lot of trans folks that are not going to be able to just walk in the everyday world and pass. And then some are met with the intersectionality of being Black or brown, and that plays an extra layer of discrimination that a lot of people don't get. There are people who they had stable housing all this time, and upon transitioning, all of a sudden now you've become the tenant from hell, allegedly, and they want you out. Or if you're in transition to find a home, no matter how much physical cash you have on hand, they don't want you there. It's it's a very tough situation, and it's often overlooked
So
in a lot of places.
hang on. So Steve is asking, and Steve, I find you to be cynical most of the time and not really tuned into what's actually going on. But I'll play along with this. How many 15-year-olds are really running away from home because they're trans? What we're seeing right now is propaganda. This is propaganda. This is propaganda to make people feel as though affirming trans youth is literally a life and death thing. Now, well, I'm gonna leave room for the fact that there are kids who do have bad home lives. There are kids who do run away. There are kids who horrible things happen to in their childhood, and their parents don't love them the way they should, and that's all fine. Well, it's not fine, well, and good, but there is truth to that. The purpose of this is to advance a narrative that if you do not affirm trans kids at all costs, they will literally die. Because it's also to say it is unsafe to inform parents of what is going on with their kids. That is the purpose of this. Does everyone understand that? Anyone who still thinks that the left actually cares about helping people or fairness or any of these things, that's deluded. And can we stop pretending otherwise? Can we stop doing this bullshit where we're trying to debunk them? Debunking them has yet to fix any problems. Literally, no problems have been fixed by this. So can we all just start to wrap our heads around the idea that every time they do a presentation like this, it's propaganda. Every time they're doing it to advance the ideology, not to articulate accurate information, not to have create more fairness and justice in the world. They're doing it as a propaganda exercise.
Even like the tri-state area, which is supposed to be so great in all this funding that's here, it's lack of help for trans folk, and it's bad. It's a lot worse than we think, or than people know, rather.
It is, and one of the things that we actually rely on are places like CLAGS to do research on that kind of thing. on the homelessness of trans people and put out reports. So that's part of what we use for advocacy in order to try to push for more funding and change. Coupled with activism. Activism is pretty much getting into people's faces, letting them know we're here and we exist and we deserve to exist. Um, the advocacy portion of it, we need universities, we need medical people to do studies and issue studies, which give us credibility for making change with lawmakers when we do and lobby things. So it becomes a family type of thing, intersectional actions across everything. When we talk about activism, a lot of people mean all of these things wrapped together, and some people actually understand the difference between activism and advocacy and lobbying and organizing and trying to pull it all together into something that can actually create change going forward. So thank you to CLAGS. Please donate to CLAGS.
Thank you. Um, Thank you. And do you actually, that's an interesting that you just brought up, this difference between what is advocacy and what is activism, and how often these things work together but are also separate. Do you want to elaborate that a little bit? Just so, because I do think there is a confusion, and I do think that sometimes, like you mentioned, like things that some of us do as scholars and at CLAGS and other places where people are doing this research can then be used. So, where would something like that, where would like this scholarship fall in?
Well, it falls into advocacy, I think, right? So with activism, we as a group of people with a common, as I understand it, we as a group of people with a common issue or a common cause, if you will get together and do things. We'll make ourselves visible. We'll go out and protest this or march over here. We get awareness up in the public that we exist. Or with advocacy, they do the research behind it, and then we can link that advocacy and well, advocacy is also where the activists go and work with other people to build allies. But part of that that's needed is the
What is another word for ally? What does it mean to be an ally? Pop quiz for the chat. They're using activism to create new allies. What does the word ally really mean? What are they trying to do when they're creating new allies? Ally means comrade. Ally is like the gateway drug for comrade. It's like you're not a full comrade yet, but you are on the path to comrade. Yeah, ally means comrade like comrade. Exactly. You're on the way to creating a full member of the party, a comrade, building the collective, building the revolution. Comrades, exactly. Well done.
research from universities, the studies, and some level of statistics, or at least a collection of stories, right? And then we can use that to go to lawmakers, which is lobbying, and try to make change. And we can organize to bring in more of our people into the situation, but also to bring in people that are allies in to help us to coordinate with us across all of these issues. So there's a host
I'm gonna
of
turn my
things
mic down a little bit. I think I'm
play
loud.
in order to be able to make it all work. And it doesn't work if you forget one of the wings of that. So when we were working on trying to get healthcare for trans people, the first step was to get statistics on it, and then the next step was to lobby lawmakers to try to make changes, because back then there were exclusions. If you said you were trans, they wouldn't treat a broken leg in some instances. The trans exclusion was that broad. So we worked to try to get the awareness up of the trans issues with lawmakers, and the lawmakers going, well, it doesn't make sense that I don't care who you are. It doesn't make sense that the trans exclusion applies to broken legs. And they understood that. So we were able to eliminate the trans exclusion along the way by doing this interplay of outreach and advocacy and activism and pulling together the research for lobbying. Anything you want to add, Jennifer?
Can y'all see me better?
There
I
she
am so
is.
sorry for it being so dark. I'm in the car. Bear with me. Um, I need a back. I need a buffer. Sorry. My
This
mind
woman is
thousands of
awful.
places.
This woman is like a homeless person. Like, what is this woman doing?
I'm
Like,
sorry,
no offense
what'd
to
you say,
homeless
Jennifer?
people, but like this woman is
Can you
awful.
fill me back in on what you just said? I was having some
Uh,
technical difficulties over here.
I was talking about the difference and the interplay between advocacy, activism, lobbying and organizing, and allies and that kind of thing.
Can I just
So,
say it is genuinely shocking to me, and maybe this is just because I was like a corporate trainer for so long. Every time I did a presentation, every time I was invited to sit on a panel, anytime I did any of this stuff, like I prepared. And I showed up, and even if it was just like a little panel or like a thing, even a thing I was doing in like an office I worked in or something, you show up and you are prepared. And it's continually shocking to me, like how often we see this sort of thing where none of the people involved actually show up prepared to be on the panel. They always seem incompetent. I'm sorry, like Jennifer should not be employed by any like this is a horrible performance, Jennifer. No offense, but like even the other ones, it's like no one's prepared, no one has any, like they're just it's just like this is why people hate doing these sorts of things, because people don't actually take it seriously. Yeah, being unprepared is queering the panel. Exactly. They're queering preparedness. Exactly. Preparation is white supremacy. Yeah. Exactly. Preparedness is racism. Yep. True.
oh, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that or not. Maybe you can talk about all the kinds of things that you need to do to work on trying to improve prison conditions or conditions for people when they're released. Because it's not all just activism. It's not just all getting in the street. It's working with lawmakers and with a host of other non people that have not been into prisons. And for trans people in prisons, I'm sure there's needs that they have that while they're in prison that need to be met. So
Let me say this. When it comes to the whole, I'm an activist. I'm an abolitionist. I'm for the cause. There are so many people who are self-appointed abolitionists, self-appointed activists, and things of that nature. And at the end of the day, you can't. You sitting here showing up to one rally, or you sitting here and sharing a post or two. I am thankful if it's the motivating, spreading the word of the cause type post. But when you are an activist, that means you live and breathe this. If you are an abolitionist, your life is on the line for what you believe in every day, all day. When you are an advocate, that means that you are listening to the people that you are advocating for and being their vocal piece when they cannot. It's we're at a time where everybody wants to have in their profile in their bios to make themselves look like they're here, and yet they live a very different life than what they preach. That's not okay. People want to be able to rely on.
Does anyone else feel like whatever green screen thing she's got set up, it keeps going back and forth between like her wearing a top and her wearing like a tank top sort of thing? Am I seeing things? Because like there's a weird effect going on where it goes back and forth where it looks like she's actually wearing clothes, and then there's like some sort of like
Activists, abolitionists, advocates,
see,
proper
look,
allies,
it's
real
doing it.
allies.
There it
People
is.
want to be able to know that they have
Why
someone
can I see
fighting
her
for them,
boob?
fighting with them.
Why?
Not just for right now because you want to be on TV, not just for right now because you want to be in a
No,
social
you can
media
see
post, not
boob.
just because you want to be
You
social
can
media
see
famous.
boob.
Not for that. When you do this work, you're supposed to be doing it from the heart. Even if it's because you have a loved one
Boob. You
inside,
see
or
that?
if you have a loved one or know someone who's going through the same struggles
Oh.
or went through
Oh,
these
I
struggles.
see what's going. Oh, she's got a picture of herself. Okay. Oh my God. Thank you. I thought this was just some Christian scene, like Christmas scene in the background. No, she's got a picture of herself wearing a. Okay. All right. I understand what's going on now. I was like, was she doing some sort of weird thing that was like she's got like a computerized shirt on? Like, yeah. So she has a naked picture of herself behind her. Don't do that, guys. Don't. What the fuck?
So be it. That's reason to be out here to help prevent others from going through that. Things of that nature can so often be in a time where everybody just wants to be seen, everybody wants to be important, and right now, it's that's the way to be. People will show up to events to take up space. And then next week you're never hear
Yeah.
from them again. They just want to
This
feel a
is my
personal
thought
quota
exactly.
inside.
I
And
didn't
that's
I
fine
didn't
if
expect to
that's your
see boob
thing.
today. That's
But
fine, I
don't
guess.
sit here and muddle the waters when people need people who are less fortunate and people who are voiceless truly need people who want to be there for them. Don't get me wrong, everything helps. But don't sit up here and blur the lines and take up the space and suck up all the air and funding from people who are truly doing the work for those who are not able to.
You're here for that.
Thank you. Which actually links us. We have a question in our chat or a comment that says, "Thank you for doing this. I wanted to ask." This is from Jen. Jen, also, if you want to speak for yourself, feel free to raise your hand, or something, and I think I can turn on your camera. But the question is, or the comment is, "I'm finally at the stable place in my life where I can do something. I would appreciate if you could share any resources or recommendations." So Jennifer, that brings us to your comment where you said that, it's not enough to, I mean, it's nice to support, right? Like, it's nice to support with like posts or reposts and things like that, but that's in itself not enough. To get things changed. That may be enough to like amplify certain things, but not really enough. For real change, we need to work and really invest the time and energy and lives into making a change. So if either one of you has, and this is something, if you have recommendations, feel free to speak up now, or maybe at the end, if we have ideas, we can drop in chat where like people can get involved. I would say it might be locally, so it may depend where you are. Though there are some obviously national organizations where people can also get involved. So I don't know if either one of you want to mention something now, or we can leave it for later.
Let me say this. Now, people also don't think that you have to do everything on a big scale either. There's things like you brought up locally. There's things locally. LGBTQ youth, trans youth, trans seniors, LGBTQ seniors, senior citizens in general, even if it's about the animals, whatever your passion is, you can start locally. If you know that you have every Saturday off and you want to go to the shelter and feed some people, then that's something different. That's doing the work. That's putting yourself there on your own, because you still got to make a living and you still got to be you. That's something different. That's somebody who I can respect because you're doing the work. You didn't show up. You didn't show up today, and then tomorrow you putting in a grant, and you got a whole loan and a grant that you took, knowing you're not going to do the work because you're being shady. And you got people that you know target up all these people, because this is where there's a lot of nonprofits being created, and they're sucking up all this money, putting it to the people who they claim that they're supposed to be helping. such as reentry work, such as trans housing, such as am I breaking up?
Yes.
A little bit.
Am I
I want
breaking
to
up?
hear from the non-binary person. Why
Ah,
isn't there a
shit.
non-binary person?
Hold on. I'm sorry, Usher.
She's
All right,
like doing this from her
let me
car.
pick up from there. So, you know, I don't
Wow.
do this to get famous. If I was completely unknown, I'd be
Because
probably
it seems like
happier
it's
than
the
I am.
end thing. And then
You're still breaking up, Jennifer.
it's never getting responses, never getting any help, not even getting a no. And then all that's obviously you are just another person who muddies the waters that makes people feel that they further people's fears because they have no one to trust. They have nowhere to turn. It's, I hope I made sense to everybody. In my mind, it made sense because this is the reality that I had to deal with. I have a lot of conversations with a lot of other organizers of many different agencies and many different causes, and that's one of the leading problems that's here plaguing,
Hey,
especially when
Natalie,
it
I haven't
comes to
seen you
low
in a minute.
income
I hope you're
people.
well.
They're relying on agencies that took money that were giving money to help them, and they're not helping. They're not helping. They can't provide 2-3 people that they helped, and that's a bad thing. And it makes people
Okay, I just
untrusting.
want to stop and point something out. And I know that this woman is painful to listen to, and I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. But I just want to point something out. We are losing very badly to these people. We are losing to these people. These people are winning. She is currently on the winning team. She is being served up as a representative of the winning team. Can we just stop and ponder how we got here for a moment? Can we just think about this? There is no reason that we should be losing to these people. There is no reason at all. The reason that we continue to lose to these people is because there is no real opposition to these people. And the people who are pretending to be the real opposition have no idea this is going on, and they do not care. All they care about is making money and being famous on the internet, and that's it. There is no real opposition to any of this. The conservatives are not opposition to this. The Christians are not opposition to this. The MAGA voters are not opposition to this. The GOP is not opposition to this. There is no opposition to this at all. None of the influencers are opposition to this. Turning Point is not opposition to this. Daily Wire is not opposition to this. James Lindsay is not opposition to this. Billboard Chris is not opposition to this. None of these so-called anti-woke activists are real opposition to this. There is no opposition to this that exists. And that's why we are sitting here watching a painfully bad state-funded presentation in which we are seeing right in front of us horribly incompetent people who are kicking all of our asses because the people who are supposed to be opposing them are not doing anything of value. And in fact, the people who are supposed to be opposing them try to destroy and smear and disparage anyone who is actually trying to do something of value. That is why we are losing to them. And if people do not start waking up to this just obviously true fact, that our biggest enemy right now is not actually them because they're so far ahead of us, we can't even fucking catch them. The biggest obstacle to us getting anywhere close to them at all is the conservative right. And I'm sorry if you're conservative, and I'm sorry if that makes you feel bad. I'm not talking about you specifically. I am talking about your influencer set. I'm talking about your pundits. I'm talking about your commentators. I'm talking about the fact that there are no real activists outside of Scott Pressler. There's one activist. I'm talking about everyone who gatekeeps people. I'm talking about these tens of millions of dollar organizations a year that are spending money throwing fucking parties, but not actually doing anything of value. I'm talking about the conservative machine that wants to put the interests of Israel over everything else. I'm talking about the conservative machine that shouts down anyone and destroys anyone and smears anyone and defames anyone that does not follow the approved narrative. I'm talking about the conservative machine that spends more time fucking with people on their own team than they do with the left. That is our enemy, guys. They are the ones who have allowed this to happen. And people need to start waking up to this. And I'm sorry if you're on the right and you don't like hearing this, but this is reality. If you actually want these people to be defeated, it is your own side that is the problem.
Reach out for help, and it makes people who truly have money and want to donate to someone doing the work. It makes them not want to trust to even give out their money. Are you going to be another person like that? And that's why it's so important to be true to this and to make sure that you are being authentic in this. I meant to touch on it earlier. The word ally. Everybody, likes to say that as well. You cannot be an ally. I'm focused on the trans community right now. You cannot say that you are an ally for the trans community, but yet tomorrow you will misgender someone. You will dead name someone. That's not being an ally. That's being full of shit. I'm hoping everybody watches this in doubt. Excuse my language. A true ally is you're gonna fight for me and speak on my behalf in the best way possible, even when I'm not there. That I know, even in my time of turmoil, that you as my ally, you are truly advocating and being an activist and an ally for me, not just for the camera.
I'm going to agree
Thank you.
with all of that. So there's something I've worked on, a coming out guide for the Native American community that was distributed around the different reservations around the country, which has made change within the reservations in some of the reddest states, some of the most hostile places for us outside of the reservations. We have natives have safe areas on reservations, more safe areas than we used to. My name isn't associated with that, right? It isn't there. I was one of the first 4 people to come out, welcomed into Powwow Circle, Two-Spirit Circle in California. One of the first 4 people welcomed in as trans-identified Two-Spirit people. We do that, and then we move on, right? So we're doing the things to make the change, not doing it for our own self-promotion. There's some level of self-promotion needed in order to get some funding, but you need to be very humble with what you're doing if you're going to work on something. So the question was, any resources or recommendations and where you can start doing something. All right. The first resource and recommendation I have is only one you can answer. What are you passionate about? Right. Doing activism isn't something to do as a pastime or as a semester class. It's something you do because you're kind of driven to do it. So what are you passionate about? You may not know much about doing it. You may not be able to do anything too great to begin with, but if you're passionate about it, you'll stick with it. So that would be the first step. And there's lots of places, local, community, such, that you can find a connection into whatever you're passionate about. Along the way, I was a member of North American Intersex Society. I was passionate about making sure that infants weren't getting non-consensual surgeries for their physical sex. We managed to get that, at least a statement from the American Medical Association saying this was a bad idea to do. Prior to that, they would take infants, mess up circumcisions, and then wind up giving them surgeries to give them vaginas because they burnt the child's penis off, and then raised the child as female without letting the child get to an age where they can understand what their sex, what their gender identity is, right? Gender identity tends to be fixed. Most people think somewhere between birth and 3 or 4 years old for the vast majority of people. There's some question about one group of people that could be trans. That's still in research. So giving the surgeries to children that are 6 months old, 9 months old, it is cruel. And I just worked on that. But then I haven't done much since then. That was passionate for me to try to stop. We managed to move some things. And I moved on to the next thing that I'm passionate about at that point. So find what you're passionate about. Do some research on it. You'll find organizations that way. It'll come to you if you understand what you're passionate about.
We had a comment on YouTube, and I was trying to figure out how to frame really this question. But the question was, how does this work interact with SQWYD groups within DSA, which is the group itself is Socialist Queer Worker and Youth Defense. So, or in more, I would say more generally, how does, when we think of larger organizations that are not necessarily, like their primary mission is not necessarily focus on trans or queer people, but we start seeing more and more people involved in these organizations that are looking at general rights, right? Like for humans, and therefore obviously for trans people who often need access to these rights. So in general, what do you think about this sort of
Thank you.
activism within the larger group? So like not specifically groups that are focusing on the trans-related social concerns, but more on like fighting for healthcare for all and just and free and affordable healthcare, and then that interacting with the assumption is that then that will provide healthcare, for example, for trans people if it's provided to all.
For me, that's how a lot of this work for me started. In those spaces, oftentimes there's not every kind of person in that space. So everybody's mindset, even though like healthcare for all, for example, right? As a Black trans person who needs healthcare, not just for my gender dysphoria, but for overall health, right? Being in a space like that is very important. And of course, while I'm there and I'm learning and I'm connecting and I'm networking, I am also going to highlight, just like other people are going to highlight their certain interests. I am going to highlight the trans lived experience, the trans need. I know when I come home from this meeting, I know to speak to a few more trans people. What do you need me to say in this space? From your own point of view, for me to go back and be present. This is where visibility, regardless of what you're being visible for, it all matters. Like I said, as a trans person, there's often spaces that they're not talking about a trans issue, and I have so many layers that make me the woman that I am. So I'm going to be in those spaces. When I find out that space is there, I'm going to try to get into that space and soak up that knowledge. Even if they don't want to let me highlight, that's fine. I'm soaking up all the knowledge and all the connections I can get, and I'm still going to do my best to highlight in that specific topic, for example, healthcare. I'm going to acknowledge the importance of gender-affirming care. I'm going to talk about the importance of having respectful facilities as a whole. Things like that. I don't want to let that action go. To be actual when it came down to me getting into the world of fighting oppression, of incarceration, modern day slavery. I was having an internal battle because I didn't know how the world would perceive me because I have the intersectionality. I know that Black people, um, which is my own race, are gonna feel like I don't want to hear about no trans shit. I don't want to hear about no LGBTQ type stuff. And in reality, then they will talk about Black as if it's everybody's Black, cis, and hetero. And I'm going to come in this space, but I'm going to highlight my lived experience, the lived experiences of other people just like me, and make sure it's understood that I'm here to count for us. I'm going to bring others along with me, and we're all going to learn. We're either going to work together for the common cause, which is to end the incarceration, or I'm just going to soak all this knowledge up and make these connections and go on into my own space to highlight us permanently in that space. But I'm going to be counted for, and it was very uncomfortable as a Black trans woman because I had to make sure y'all understood I'm here as a Black person, but I'm also here as a trans person and part of the LGBT community, and you will not make me erase one for the other.
Thank you.
I want to echo that. So representation in organizations is important. And if an organization typically wants to just do a high level approach to things without going through and listing or naming details at any point in time, I don't trust the organization, right? There's a saying I've got that I've noticed about human nature, right? Human beings tend to label or count or both what they care about. So we have names, right? Because people have cared about who we are or cared about the fact that we exist. We don't have just, A, B, 26 letters and everybody's one of the 26 letters. We all have unique names, or you have 4 children and their names are, right? How much money do you make? Do you count the cents? No, you count thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, maybe. Maybe you don't make much. So actually the cents makes a difference. So what matters to you is what you count, right? How much do you weigh? How old are you? And that makes a difference in how you approach things. So that kind of representation has to be within organizations, and that level of detail and discussion needs to happen in those organizations as well, or that's just not gonna.
So, okay, I want to ask someone a question.
In the long run.
Or I want to ask you guys a question. Who is the most dangerous person on this screen right now? They're not really giving us much to work with, honestly. They're not saying anything that isn't stuff we haven't heard before. I know if you're new to watching this stuff with me, you might be kind of shocked at this, but this is kind of like very typical trans activism training. So I want to just try to take a different angle on this. If you have to now, this person in the bottom right is a sign language interpreter, so this person doesn't count. Put number 1 in the chat if you think Jennifer Love, the Black woman, is the most dangerous person on this panel. Put number 2 in the chat if you think this non-binary person in the pink is the most dangerous. Number 3 in the chat if you think it's Janice, the trans person down here. 1, Jennifer. 2, Yasmina. 3, Janice. I don't know what sign from the universe has put us a bunch of J names. Which one is the most dangerous to what we want to see happen in the world? Okay, obviously there's a good mix of 1 and 3s. Looks like I'm seeing more 1s than 3s. Okay, if you picked number 1, I want you to explain why in the chat you think that Jennifer Love, the Black trans person, is the most dangerous. Just number 1s for right now. If you think Jennifer is the most dangerous, why do you think Jennifer is the most dangerous? Because, like you said, expressive people have the most power. I mean, that's actually, I wouldn't have thought of that rationale, Bob, but I think that makes sense. An incompetent person with power, outspoken and demands to be heard. She's completely incoherent. Okay, I think that's good rationale. Now, if you picked Janice, number 3, if you pick Janice, why do you think Janice is the most dangerous? And Yasmina kind of got herself out of the running. So it was really between Jennifer and Yasmina. Everyone who picked Janice, why do you think Janice is the most dangerous? Janice sounds normal, will trick you, easier to fall for the spiel. What other reasons do people pick Janice as the most dangerous? Logical, persuasive, and uses the system as she finds it. What other reasons might Janice be the most dangerous? You think I don't know that you think Janice is more likely to get the attention of an audience? I don't know if I agree with that. Informed and got things done already doesn't sound crazy. Okay. Janice is organizing programs, building community among Indigenous people, and is being accepted. Yeah. She has coherent answers. Janice is calm and would implement the rants of Jennifer. Yes. And see, now we're getting to the point, right? See, what the right focuses on is the Jennifers. The right focuses on the people that they can clip to make look like lol cows on the internet, that they can post all over social media and get 1 million shares because look at this crazy fucking leftist. She's basically got a naked photo behind her in this video, right? And so that's who the right focuses on. The most dangerous person in this panel is Janice. Because Janice is quiet. Janice is just going about her business. Janice is someone that's not going to act crazy on a video camera. Janice is someone that's organizing. She's working within the system. She's just like, she makes sense. She's talking coherently. You might not like that she's trans, but you're not going to have any problems with Janice. Janice is generally going to be nice to get along with. Janice is working inch by inch to implement policies that actually change things. Janice is getting people. Janice is the most dangerous person in this. And this is what the right does not understand, because the right is always and forever going to focus on Jennifer because Jennifer is loud. She is incoherent. She is foolish. She looks crazy. She is every stereotype of a black trans woman that the right wants to make fun of online. And that's really all they care about. Janice is never going to be one of those people that ends up on a TikTok video or ends up on a Turning Point USA video where they're making fun of leftists. Janice can fly under the radar. Janice just goes about her business quietly and no one even knows it until all of a sudden there are problems and you don't even know where those problems came from, but they came from Janice just getting up and going and doing her thing every day and no one even noticed. Does everyone understand that? Yes. Jennifer is the magician's assistant. Jennifer is the distraction. Janice is the magician. Well, Jennifer's over here acting a fool and doing all this crazy shit. Janice is actually pulling the trick. Does everyone understand this? This is why we watch these presentations, guys, so that you can hear from the people who are actually pulling the trick and you can see how it shows up. And it is not exciting to focus on these people, and I get that. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not going to get you internet clout. There's literally no clip of Janice that I can make in this entire presentation that's going to get me shares on Twitter. That's just not going to happen. Because Janice isn't saying anything that's like crazy. Janice isn't acting foolish. Janice is just like, yeah, this is what we go into organizations and we organize and we get people together. And, I work with a lot of people to create policy and we're just getting up and doing it every day. That's how they do it. That's how they win.
My opinion.
Thank you. I am just checking if we have other audience questions, and if we do, and I missed it, I guess somebody nudged me because chat kind of flies by. So Jennifer, I see your hand up.
I do want to say one thing, that being in the world of activism, advocacy, allyship is very draining, and it make you fearful coming in. But it's 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 never. You're not gonna come into something knowing everything, and you're not gonna come into nothing having the answers for everything, even in everyday life. We are born having no knowledge, and we have to grow and learn it, right? So it is okay if you feel that you have something inside you to give, and you see some social media posts for rallies, for moments where you can come and fit in and learn and ask some questions. Moments like watching this panel, having signing up for free to come and get a link to come watch this, so you can hear, and these things may help you form your mind. There's a lot that I advocate for now that was never on my radar before, but it wasn't nothing that I even knew about. However, me sitting in spaces and being and
Well,
understanding that in the world of
hang on. I fear I'm being taken down a right-wing rabbit hole, not by you, Carlin, by right-wing Gnostics. Yeah, you are. You are. If all you're looking at is the clickbait content that right-wing influencers create, you are very literally, and this is part of the problem. This is what I'm talking about when I say the right's the problem. If all you're doing is looking at the content that right-wing influencers create, you are going down a rabbit hole that makes you think that the problem is completely different than what the problem actually is. It is an entire fantasy world filled with pedophiles and groomers. And listen, I'm not saying this stuff doesn't exist, because it does exist, but the fact of the matter is that grooming takes place in schools every single day in a way that has nothing to do with sexualizing children. Like, grooming to me is about teaching kids that they're non-binary. That's what I mean when I say grooming. Teaching kids that they're genderqueer. Teaching kids that the gender binary doesn't exist. That's what I mean when I say grooming. And I, excuse me, probably should come up with another word for it if I'm honest about it. But like, and maybe we can work together to come up with what that word is. But like, when conservatives say grooming, what they mean is sexualizing kids and pedophiles and all that stuff, and that's just not what happens in the vast majority of cases. There are actually a lot of leftists who speak out about against the sexualization of children. And so the right is actually making themselves look crazy by this echo chamber rabbit hole that they're creating with clickbait content that is just not hinged into reality. But it's the sexy stuff, right? It's the outrage stuff. It's the things that are going to get the shares on social media. And that's really what they care about. At the end of the day, news outlets care about making money. They care about views. They care about advertisers. They care about retweets. They care about shares. They care about coverage. That is all they care about. Everything else will be beholden to that thing. The only way to get people to understand what's really going on is to pull them out of these clickbait rabbit holes. Stop engaging in outrage porn, guys. I know it can be fun every once in a while. I really do get it. But you've got to stop engaging in this stuff if you actually want to understand what's really going on. Trust me, the primary source content is scary. This stuff is scary when you get into it. It's just as scary as the outrage porn, you know?
activism, abolitionist, and being even an ally, that networking and partnership is so important. So even though certain topics may not affect me personally, you never know. You never know who you may come across that may need your help or your knowledge or your connection, such as women with children, people who can bear children, birth children, or people who have parental control over children, people who have citizenship issues, all of these things, people who are disabled. Um, there's a lot of layers that the elderly, I'm not there yet. Don't be rushing me to get there. Even when it comes to that, there's a lot of layers to this crazy world that we're in, that a lot of people need advocates for, and people to be alliances with them. And as you sit down and learn, especially with the virtual aspect. So you don't have to leave your home. You can listen to it while you're on a above ground train. You can listen to it while you're in a light rail, while you're in the car. Just sit in here and listen, and it may help you say, "Hey, I want to go see what's nuts." And I may even want to email y'all, "Hey, when can I come out to help with something so I can get more of a sense?" There is no rule that says, "Hey, I have to become activist today." Even being an ally is something amazing. Just do it and do it with love, and don't do it for the gram.
Thank you. And Janice, sorry, did you want to add?
I was going to say, activism it takes time to learn what you're doing. When my first actions, the first things I did, I had no clue about anything, right? First march I was in, we were getting rocks and eggs thrown at us. I had no idea how everybody pulled everything together. I had no idea how everybody got on there, got in the street, or out, none of that, right? So you get involved, you do some small things along the way. The small things actually matter, huge, right? But you need to understand that activism can it's often scary, right? So you're getting into people's faces, or you're out in places and standing in front of people that don't want you standing there, all right? Or you're getting out in front of people who don't like you, and getting them used to seeing you, and breaking down some barriers. Activism, the actual activism part of activism can be scary, all right? So you need to make sure that you take care of yourself first. Make sure you're safe, take care of yourself. If you burn out or if you hurt yourself, you can't help somebody else.
Thank you. And thank you for that great reminder. I think often those of us who are in this work forget to take care of ourselves. Like, it's easy because it feels sometimes like the world is just too much and there's just too much to do, that we don't have time to take a break. Especially I see a lot of youth, our youth, our young people that are some of them just starting, and there's this need to do it all and solve it all. So, which kind of brings me, and this is my last question, and I will say at this point, definitely if people have questions in the audience, make sure you drop it in the chat so we don't miss you. But my sort of wrap-up question is, in my experience with variety of movements and organizing, one sees in all the social justice organizing, the anti-imperialist, the anti-occupation movements, like a lot of that organizing has a lot of queer people. Like, I often see a lot of queer, a lot of trans, a lot of gender nonconforming people as sort of drawn to participate in these movements. And I wonder, do you have any thoughts? Like, what is it, and this is not to say that obviously there are plenty of trans folk who are not into organizing in that sense, but why do you think we see such a large presence in some of the social justice groups of our trans youth?
Why do we see it of which group?
Why do we see why do we see such a large presence? Like, why does it seem to me, or maybe I'm being subjective, so like it is possible that I see what I want to see, but it seems to me when I go to a lot of marches, a lot of protests that are dealing with general social justice issues, there's often a large contingent of trans youth, trans people in general, not just youth, that are leading or participating. And I wonder if there's something about, I guess, our experiences that are kind of encouraging or making one more likely to join fights against other types of oppressions.
I think that my personal opinion, I could be wrong. I think that we're tired. So many of us have the trans umbrella in general. So many of us have a lot of intersectionalities, whether we see it, whether the world sees it or not. At the same token, being tired. Um, Starting from Stonewall and the thing that we celebrate Pride as. That's trans women. Be trans women tired. Trans people, queer people have been here being vocal, fighting, preparing the fights because we couldn't be the ones in the front, but preparing them for years, for decades. And there's now, I guess we're tired of also letting so-called straights take the credit for the work that we're doing. So it's to be, you know, let me be visible on my own instead of you taking all the credit for all of my work and all of my siblings' work. But I think that we're just tired, and this is something I'm glad you brought that question up because I did a panel and I had made it a previous panel and I had made it clear you'll be surprised how much trans and queer folks get up out here and fight. We're not just fighting for our visibility. We're not just fighting to be counted for. We're also fighting for others. However, others don't want to fight for us. Others want to beat us up. Others want to kill us and erase us. But it's cool when we're out here fighting for everybody else, including ourselves. Yet we're at the bottom of the barrel, always. And it's sad. But I think that with this energy that especially the youth are having, I am excited to become elderly and see the amazing ground that they make, the amazing ground that they get to cover with the fight that's in them. This is a lot of fight and a lot of these young queer folks, a lot of young trans folks, and I am extremely proud of these babies because they're able to we don't understand a lot of terminologies. We don't understand a lot of breakdown of identity. That's fine. They know how to express themselves and let you know exactly who they are. You may not like it, but my generation, oh, I couldn't do that. I wasn't so articulate on what makes me me. I'm 47 and I feel like that articulate about what makes me me. So I get excited when I see a young folk with so much guff inside of them that they can let you know who they are and you see their passion and when you give a lot of them the mic and you've seen it when we was at the rally Creative Racial March rally this year, 23, you got to hear and at our town hall that young baby speak and the drag performer was very one of them, the drag performer, one of them was very young as well. And I was in awe because I'm seeing young people just be so passionate, speaking with understanding of self, which is most importantly. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm looking forward to the amazing ground that they get to cover and what they get to change for me before I get out of here. As the stage left, I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna say, hey, yay to what Jennifer just said in that regard. I think trans people, social justice. We
Well,
don't have social
hang on.
justice.
Let's do this. So anonymous groper, and I'm really glad the gropers are here today. It's kind of a boring day, but like I'm glad you guys are listening. Celebrating underage drag performers. Wow. So pop quiz for the chat. Why does the left embrace drag, specifically targeting drag performances at kids? What is the specific goal of embracing drag performances and drag queen story hour targeting at kids? Why are they doing that? Remember, guys, everything the left does has a reason. Absolutely everything. And everything always leads back eventually to the same place. So if we can reverse engineer why the left is doing what they're doing, we can understand what they're going to do next, and we can identify different strategies when it shows up in the world. The very specific reason that the left uses drag to target kids, and my dog's about to weigh in on this too, they want to teach kids that gender is made up, gender is fluid, changing your gender is as easy as changing an outfit, with the specific goal of abolishing the gender binary. Remember, queer Marxism, the primary goal of queer Marxism is to abolish the gender binary. It is not a Gnostic sex cult. It has nothing to do with that at all. Their specific stated goal is to abolish the gender binary, because abolishing the gender binary is an attack on capitalism and it's an attack on the nuclear family. When they're doing this drag stuff, the whole idea of introducing drag to kids is your gender is a performance. Your gender is an outfit. You change your gender when you're changing an outfit. That's what this is. To teach kids that gender is just a performance, to show it's performative. That's what Judith Butler teaches. It teaches kids that gender is a performance, that one can change like one changes an outfit. Prove gender is a performance. Gender is a performance. See, the reason I bring this up is a lot of people think that Drag Queen Story Hour and all this drag stuff is about sexualizing children. It is not about sexualizing children. And I know that people might like look at some of the things they do, and it can be easy to assume they're trying to sexualize kids. But that and maybe onesies and twosies. I'm not going to dismiss that. Maybe onesies and twosies, but you have to look at the bigger picture of what they're trying to do. It is to teach kids that gender is performative when they're still so young that they don't know any differently, and then that idea implants in their head and it never leaves. They want to teach kids that gender is a performance to eliminate the binary. It teaches kids that gender can be changed like changing an outfit, disrupts the gender binary. Queer Marxists want to break the gender binary. Guys, it is always and forever about breaking the gender binary when it comes to queer Marxism. Almost everything they do is around breaking the gender binary, because breaking the gender binary gets them the nuclear family. If they are successfully able to abolish the gender binary, the nuclear family will fall. And when the nuclear family falls, capitalism falls. And that's when they get their Marxist utopia. Everything hinges on this. This is why we spend so much time on queer Marxism and the gender stuff. It's not just because it's like literally the sexiest stuff. It's because if the gender binary falls, the nuclear family falls, and then we're all fucked. Lots of right answers in the chat. Yep, my dogs do love the gender binary, especially the Chihuahua. Yep. Nope, you're not giving right answers. You need to listen. You need to talk less and listen more. You're new here. You need to talk less and listen more. You're new here. Hi, Dan. If you guys miss it, I had a great chat with Dan, the System is Down podcast earlier today. I actually really enjoyed it. And so I definitely recommend, if you missed the show, head over to The System is Down and you can check out the chat there. I'm going to hopefully be making clips of that. But I really appreciated that chat, Dan. That was awesome. All right, we have about 10 more minutes of this presentation. Actually, we might have to wrap this up a little early. Actually, you know what? Let's cut it here. Let's cut it here, because they really haven't said anything. You are new. I promise you're new. Let's cut it here. And the reason I need to cut it here is that we're spy streaming tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We are spy streaming. So I'm going to end this stream, but spy stream starts at 7:30. And I need to take a break and go to the socialist room, okay? I need to take a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to come right back, and we're going to go on to this stream. Let me put the stream in the chat. And guys, this is a live training. This is a live training. This is a rare non-supporter exclusive spy stream. This is a bonus stream today, okay? And there's a live trans activist training starting in 15 minutes. And I'm going to take you guys inside of it because I've got the secret Zoom link. Ha ha, too bad, so sad. And so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and I'm going to come right back and we're going to spy stream. All right, see you soon.